Excellent, thank you. So from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed, and on the third day be raised to life. So this is just one example of many examples where Jesus had started to tell his disciples what was going to happen. They were on their way to Jerusalem, and Jesus told them he was going to be arrested, that he was going to be killed, and that he was going to come back to life. But clearly, as the story unfolds, we see that either the disciples didn't quite understand what he said, or they didn't believe what he said, because when he's killed, they all run away, and they're hiding away. They know that Jesus is dead, and none of them is expecting Jesus to come back to life. And so on the Sunday, as we read, some of the women are making their way to the tomb to put some spices on the body, and there is an angel who appears. There's an earthquake. The guards that are there, they fall to the ground as if dead, and the stone has been rolled away. But Jesus has already gone. Jesus isn't there. The stone wasn't rolled away so that Jesus could get out. The stone was rolled away so that the women and the disciples could see in and could see that the tomb was empty. The women had come looking for Jesus, but they were looking in the wrong place because Jesus was alive. And then Jesus meets them. He tells them not to be afraid and to go and tell the rest of the disciples. And we're going to sing another song now, but then after that, we're going to be thinking a little bit more about this story and the implications for us today. So one of our quiz questions earlier on was about Bible sales going up. And the same sort of research also shows that church attendance is going up. And it also shows that now more men than women are going to church. In fact, pretty much all of the, if you were to go back a few years, all of the doom and gloom statistics that were around about church and that were accompanied with headlines about the death of the church and things like that, it seems that all of those statistics have stopped going down, and in fact many of them are now on the increase, going in the opposite direction, which is good news, but we shouldn't be complacent. And we want to thank God for what he is doing, but we also want to make sure that we've got ears to hear what it is that God wants us to be doing so that we can get on board with what God is already doing. According to the research here in the UK, a lot of these upward trends are being driven by what are known as Gen Z, or Gen Z, if you insist on pronouncing Z like a Z. But for those of you that are not sure, Gen Zs, they are 13 to 28-year-olds. So that's kind of the bracket that we are talking about. But on Thursday, when I was going for a nice long run, I was listening to a podcast, an Australian podcast, and they were saying that although they're seeing a similar upward trend in Australia, it's not being driven by Gen Zs in Australia. It's being driven by men over 50. And they dug around a bit and they tried to work out what was going on. And they were saying that what these two groups, Gen Zs in places like the UK and the US, and men over 50 in Australia, kind of what they have in common is that they are at a point in life where, for whatever reason, they've hit some kind of crisis. There is chaos in the world, and suddenly this is impacting them in a way that it hasn't done before. Whatever they believed was true about the world is suddenly being shaken. What was supposed to work isn't working anymore. The old way of thinking about stuff doesn't match with my experience. And so people are looking for something. They are looking for answers. They are looking for something that works. And many of them are finding answers in Jesus. Mary had gone looking for Jesus, but she was looking in the wrong place because Jesus was not dead, he was alive. And I wonder if there are any of us here who are looking for answers. We are looking for Jesus, but we're looking in the wrong places. And there are many people that we know there'll be many people in our community who are looking for answers to life's big questions. But they're not necessarily sure what they're looking for, and they're not sure where they should be looking. And so I want us to spend a few minutes this morning thinking about how we might be able to help those who are looking for Jesus. We may have no idea what is going on in the lives of the people that we will spend time with this coming week. Some of them may be experiencing that chaos. Some of them may be experiencing a crisis. Some of them may be asking big questions in their heads. How can we help them to find Jesus? Well, in just a moment, as it's an all-age service, you're going to have to get up and move around. So, at the back, trying not to step on any small children. I haven't totally thought this through, and I haven't done a risk assessment. But at the back, there are 5 cards, and there's copies of 5 different cards, and there are also some pencils. One of those cards is a signpost. And maybe one of the ways that we can help people find Jesus is by being a signpost that points people to Jesus, maybe through the things that we do or through the things that we say. And we might want to be thinking about, say, the fruit of the Spirit, which Paul talks about in Galatians 5:22, kind of those characteristics that come from the inside and change everything on the outside: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So that's the signpost. Then there's a footprint. And this represents, maybe there is somebody that I can walk alongside this week. Somebody who just needs somebody to walk with them for this part of their journey. Someone that needs a friend to be alongside them. Then there is a kind of a little seed that started to grow. And this is to remind us that not everyone has a dramatic encounter with Jesus like Paul had on the Damascus Road. For some people, it is a much slower journey. And along the way, different people in their lives will sow different seeds. And so this one is to think about, well, are there people who maybe there are seeds that I can sow into their life, or maybe someone else has sown a seed and it's starting to grow and it just needs a little bit of watering, it needs a little bit of care at the moment. Then there is a book, and this is to remind us that we've all got a story. All of us has a life experience. We know what God has done in our lives. And in Peter's letter, Peter says, always be prepared to give the reason for the hope that you have. And so maybe one of the ways that we can point people to Jesus this week is through our story and being ready not to clam up when the opportunity comes, but being ready to give the reason for the hope. Lots of people are looking for hope at the moment. We live in a world where there's not a lot of hope. But Peter writes and reminds us, always be prepared. And then there is a magnifying glass. And this is just in case you've got something that doesn't fit. You've thought of something, or you're going to think of something, doesn't quite fit in any of those. Or maybe you're searching and you're trying to find answers. So what I would like you to do, and there'll be quite a lot of overlap between these cards, so it doesn't really matter which card you take, but you're going to keep them, you're going to write on them, and then you're going to keep them and take them home to remind you, because above all, we need to, whichever card you fill in, we all need to be praying that we might be able to point people to Jesus. So, I'm not going to go through all those again. If you didn't get it, just make it up as you go along. It will all be fine. But we're going to go back to the back. You're going to take a card which fits maybe something, or you're going to think for a moment before you do that. Is there a way that I can help people that are searching for Jesus find Jesus in the events of this week or next week? And you can either just write their name on the card, or you can write what you're going to do on the card, or you're going to write about something that you're going to pray about on the card, and then you'll take the cards home and remind you to pray. Okay, so without crushing any children, Louis. No, the young people are ahead of us. They are on the white table that's not as... But Bella, you definitely don't want to stand there. So they're on the white table at the back, so you don't need to crush any children. And then, so when you know what you're going to write, go and grab a pencil, grab a piece of paper, and I'll give you a few minutes to do that before we pray.